Hi. You know the phrase, I know it like the back of my hand? It's a weird phrase, isn't it? When was the last time you really looked at the back of your hand? I mean, really looked. And you can see the skin, look a bit closer. You might be able to see some veins. A bit closer still, you might see a freckle or a pore or a hair. But no matter how much harder you try, that's as close as you'll get. You'll never be able to see any closer. And yet we're merely scratching the surface. My name's Reese. I've been a science teacher for 10 years. And in this episode of Counting Bubbles, we're going to have a look at the extraordinary world of the cell. Biology is the study of living things. Picture a living thing in your mind's eye. Most people are guilty of thinking too big when they consider life. You are probably imagining an animal. In fact, you're probably imagining a fluffy, cute mammal, like Will. Life is far more diverse than lions and tigers and bears. Apart from the major animal groups of birds, insects, mammals, reptiles, birds, fish, birds, and amphibians. If I said birds, life flourishes across the planet as ferns, flowering plants, conifers, and corals. Despite the assortment of forms on this planet, it all boils down to one of three divisions: bacteria, archaea, and eukaryotes. It's this last division that we're going to focus on today. Cells are the fundamental unit of life. This is called cell theory, and it has three major components. 1. All living things are made from cells. 2. The cell is the basic unit of organisation, so you can't get any smaller and still have life. 3. All cells have come from pre-existing cells. Once upon a time, shortly after your mummy and daddy loved each other very much, you were just a single cell, a single fertilised egg, a zygote, the size of a full stop. One of the most vulnerable and pathetic forms of life. My, how you've grown. That single cell has divided and specialised into over 200 cell types and around 30 trillion different cells. All with their own jobs, all with their own functions, all with their own shapes. But even the smallest of them is still absolutely tiny. Consider this. Take a look at your hand. You know the back of your hand, we were talking about it earlier? Take a look at your hand. Let's assume that there are about 2.5 billion cells in one of your hands. Okay, that number fluctuates, but let's assume it. How big do you think your hand would be if you took every single one of those cells and blew it up to the size of a grain of sand? How large do you think your hand would be? Have a guess in the comments down below. Have you done it? Okay. So if we had blown up every single cell in your hand, all 2.5 billion of them, if we put 2.5 billion grains of sand together, you would have a hand the size of a bus. This gives you an idea of the scale of cells. They are absolutely tiny. Now, we are animals, as much as other people think that we are a higher form of life. We're not, we're animals. I'm a teacher, I know. We're animals. This means that we have certain things in common with every other animal on the planet. Now, let's take a look at that. Okay, a basic animal cell will look like this. First, we need a large wobbly shape that takes up more than half the page. Look at how I draw this. Lovely, smooth and clean lines, no sketching. Inside this shape, I need to draw three structures. A rough oval, several smaller ovals, and a number of coloured in dots. I'm going to make that into a coloured in dot because it sort of went wrong. Okay. Again, I'm not colouring in. This is a biological diagram, not an art project. Each of these parts is drawn with smooth, clean lines. Okay, time to label each part. First I'll get the label lines in. There's the first one. And we've got the second one. Okay, again, look at how I've done the label lines. They're drawn with a ruler. There's no arrowheads because arrowheads show the direction of a force or a chemical reaction. These are neither. They touch what they are labeling. They're not being left in mid-air. Okay, so this outer line is the cell membrane. You've then got the rough oval inside, which represents the nucleus. These smaller ovals are the mitochondria, but each individual one is a mitochondrion. The space between these parts is a colourless jelly called cytoplasm, and these dots are ribosomes. Now, before we start looking at what these different parts do, I think it's better to have a look at the plant cell, get all of the different parts out in the open. So to start, we're going to need a brand new shape. It's called the wobblong. It's a wobbly oblong. We're going to draw a large wobblong, at least half the size of the space, and then, and this is something that people tend to forget, we need a smaller wobblong inside the larger wobblong. Okay, there's always two wobblongs, always two, no more, no less, like the Sith. So inside that small wobblong, we need another brand new shape. We need the wovel, a wobbly oval, and this needs to take up quite a lot of space in the wobblong. Now we need to add some small ovals, some even smaller ovals, our coloured in dots from last time, and what's the other thing I need to do? What am I missing? This is a eukaryotic cell? Correct, I need a large oval. It's going to be our nucleus. Okay, let's label this up again. We'll have a label line just in here. A label line touching that inner wobblong, one that stops between the two wovals. Sorry, between the two wobblongs, one that touches the inner wobblong. We then need this one. We're going to need this one. We need to label one of these. We need to label one of these. We need to label one of these smaller ovals. And we need something that ends in mid-air. Okay. Plants live at a completely different pace to animals. I'm so fed up of students saying to me, "Oh, I don't like plants. Plants are boring." Plants are incredible. Not only can plants pump water tens, hundreds of meters into the sky in absolute silence, plants can take energy from the sun, carbon dioxide gas, liquid water, and make more plant out of it. They can make glucose out of it. Plants talk to each other. They fight with each other. Some can control different animals. Plants are amazing. You just have your expectations on a different time scale. The largest, some of the heaviest, and some of the oldest organisms on the planet. They have everything that animal cells have. fact they have a nucleus is what makes them a eukaryote, but they also have a few unique organelles all of their own. So what we've got so far. Let's label it up. This space between the two wobblongs is the cell wall. Remember, only plant cells have a cell wall. The inner wobblong is your membrane. Here we've got our nucleus. This large organelle that takes up most of the space is your vacuole. We have a big oval here. This is going to be the chloroplast. You've got your little coloured in dot here, that is your ribosome. We've got our smaller oval down here at the bottom. This one is your mitochondrion. And then you've got this bit down here, which is of course your cytoplasm. Okay, smooth, clean lines, no sketching, horizontal label lines. It's not too difficult to draw one of these. It doesn't take too long, and look how beautiful that looks. So now we know that living things are made of cells, and that these cells are very small. We know that cells with a nucleus are eukaryotes. Let's review what else we've got. The two types of eukaryotes we've looked at are animal and plant cells. Both of these have a cell membrane, cytoplasm, mitochondria, and ribosomes. Plant cells also have a cell wall, vacuole, and chloroplasts. Well, that's a lie, but it's a helpful lie. These cell parts actually have a name. They're called organelles. And if you're in year 12 and year 13, you need to know that for your exams. Each organelle has a different function, and the organelles work together to keep the organism alive. This is called division of labour. Because each single cell is alive, each cell must be able to do everything that any living organism can do. And we remember what the living organisms can do using the mnemonic Mrs. Gren. Each of the cell parts is linked to a different life process in the Mrs. Gren mnemonic. So let's go through them. The nucleus stores DNA. This is the genetic material. These are the instructions to make another copy of you, which is a terrifying concept. The DNA is also used to make proteins for growth, as well as a new cell in reproduction. Now, if a single cell is using DNA in its own nucleus to reproduce, this is called asexual reproduction, but that's the topic of another video. The cell membrane controls what enters and leaves the cell. This means it can sense different chemicals, and the cell membrane also has a role in individual cells communicating with other cells, bringing out this idea of sensing their environment. The cytoplasm is the site of chemical reactions, things like anaerobic respiration. The ribosomes are the site of protein synthesis. Now that is 2 words, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sick of marking exam questions where protein synthesis is like photosynthesis. It's one long gobbledygooked word. Protein synthesis is used for growth again. The mitochondria are the site of aerobic respiration. This again is one of the key life processes in Mrs. Gren, it's one of the R's. But aerobic respiration provides the fuel for growth, provides the fuel for movement. It provides this energy that we need. Now remember, we've got a few extra bits to do with the plants. So with the plants, you've got the cell wall. The cell wall provides structure and rigidity, so it allows the plant to grow taller. It allows the plant to track the sun across the sky. The vacuole stores cell sap, which stores all of the products of photosynthesis, the excess glucose. The fact that the vacuole pushes out against the cell wall means that this provides the pressure for a plant to stay upright. As the plants in my house know, not enough water, not enough in the vacuole, not enough pressure, they start to wilt. Finally, you've got the chloroplast. The chloroplast is an amazing organelle. It's the site of photosynthesis, that's one word, photosynthesis, where you take in energy from the sun, you take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, water from the soil, and you combine all of this to make glucose and oxygen. And that glucose is the Lego brick, it's the fundamental building block for everything else in the plant. It will add its different things to make all that the plant is, as well as to provide the energy for respiration. So, there we have it. A whistle-stop tour of the world of the eukaryotic cell. Well, 2 of them at least. I hope you found this video useful, either to learn some new biology or revise biology from the deep and distant past of Year 9. If you found this video helpful, please pop a like on it. It really boosts my profile, it helps others find this video, and it shows that you're liking the content that I make, which is really brilliant. You might want to even consider subscribing to the channel, perhaps hitting the notification bell, so that you know exactly when my videos are released, and you can get those comments on them. On the topic of comments, thank you so much to the Counting Bubbles community. I love reading your comments. There are so many of them and I respond to as many as I can. It's really fantastic to see that you're engaging with this project. Can't wait to see who finds both of the will references in this video. That isn't the second one. There's another one. I wonder who can find both. I wonder, will it be Dan? Hi Dan! Anyway, until next time, I've been Reese. This has been Counting Bubbles, and I'll see you in the next video.